Hi everybody, I am Argle This is a review for Disney Twisted Tales Once Upon a Dream. It's a dark, scary version of Sleeping Beauty. The premise is that Sleeping Beauty did not wake up at the end of the movie. So what happens next? I feel like this book was okay. It does have a bunch of major problems, and one of which is the fact that there's a movie called Maleficent, which does a much better job with this dark Sleeping Beauty premise. Like, watch the movie over reading the book. I think you will enjoy the movie more than this book. Not to say this book is bad, but wow, the first 100 pages sort of feel a lot like the movie. I don't know if that was on purpose or not, but the similarities don't make the book look better. It makes the book come off a little bit worse because it just made me want to watch the movie. And I actually saw like 5 of the top 10 reviews for this book were did not finish reviews. People all dropped off during the first 100 pages. So the premise is that Maleficent is a good fairy and she had to stop the evil king and queen. And she is now raising Princess Aurora as her own daughter. Just like the movie, right? Just like the movie. Main difference is they're trapped inside the castle now. It's Thorn Castle. There's like a row of thorns everywhere surrounding the castle. So nobody's been able to like leave the castle area for years and years. There's probably nothing out there. They're just trapped inside the castle, basically relying on Maleficent's magic to keep them alive and give them food. Every month or so, they have a ball. Sleeping Beauty's pretty isolated from everybody else. Doesn't really talk to anybody besides her handmaiden. And that's like 100 pages. So I feel like a lot of people dropped off because it was a little boring and they were worried that the whole book would be like that. But no, that's not the case. So it's actually a dream. It's a fake reality. It's, I've seen this premise in Star Trek a bunch of times where our character is in this fake reality and then slowly they realize, well, something's weird here. Something's off. And that is exactly what happens in the first 100 pages. Aurora kind of gets little flashes of, this is weird. This isn't real because it's all a dream. She's just sleeping. It's all just a dream. I think the thing that gave it away is because the Batman, the animated series episode, Perchance to Dream, which was a great episode where Batman is in this dream reality where his parents are still alive. And, we get to see all the fun little changes to the reality that were made because of that. And one of the big plot points there is that he can't read anything. He opens up a book, there's no words on the page because you can't read anything in a dream. And this book does the exact same thing. All the books are blank. All the books are blank. And she can't do math either. Apparently you can't do math in dreams. I didn't know that, but the book goes with that as well. So, things slowly break apart and she slowly starts to realize, wait, this isn't real. And she runs away. She basically runs away from the castle and goes outside the thorns and finds the real area. And that's what the majority of the book is, her outside of the castle. It's just the first 100 pages where she's in this really fake reality controlled by Maleficent. The premise is that, say, like 2 weeks in this dream reality is equal to 1 minute in real life, and Maleficent is purposely trying to delay things until midnight of Princess Aurora's 16th birthday, at which point her curse finally hits, and then Maleficent will come back to life and take over the world and everything like that. So once we get out of those 100 pages, then we get to the meat of the story, which is Aurora runs into Prince Philip. And this, I don't want to say Prince Philip is an idiot, but he's kind of treated like a comedy relief idiot. Princess Aurora often wants him to just shut up, you idiot. She does call him an idiot. She does tell him to shut up multiple times. She says the word hell multiple times. Yeah, she swears in this book. There's a lot of swearing in this book. I think it's because the word hell is in the movie Sleeping Beauty. Maleficent, big scene where she's like, all the powers of hell. And so I felt like that gave the author like free reign to be a little extra PG rated, you could say. This is not a clean G rated book. Also the word damn. Twice they mention rape. I think 3 times they mention Princess Aurora having a period, which is not like something that's dirty, but it's not something you'd expect to see from a Disney produced book, right? Like that is not 1950s, 1960s Walt Disney at all to be talking about Aurora having a period. Well, it's a plot point because nobody else in the dream world knows what a period is because it's Maleficent's like fake reality. She's a fairy, so she doesn't have a period. And a couple of the people in the fake reality are actually real people. Those are people who are asleep in the castle. And when she kills them in the fake reality to like drain their blood and give herself a bit more magic power, they die in real life. So that's kind of the premise. That Aurora is going to have to go back to the castle and defeat Maleficent because Maleficent's got like real people that she's going to kill for real, including Aurora's real parents. So something I thought was interesting is that there's a time difference. Aurora's 19 years older now because she's apparently spent 19 years inside this fake reality. And gosh, I wish the book had gone more into that. This particular author seems to really like doing that, like aging up the characters in this series. Happened with the Little Mermaid book that this author wrote. Happened with Alice in Wonderland and Wendy from Peter Pan. They all get aged up, but this is the most extreme example that Princess Aurora is now in her mid-30s. And I really wish the book had kind of gone into more detail with that because, gosh, she's twice as old as the prince remembers, and that should be a big deal for him that his true love is now in her 30s. And it's not. It's just played for laughs when he tries to delicately dance around the fact that she's twice as old now, and then she just thinks he's an idiot. And yeah, it felt like the author did kind of make a list of every single thing that she disliked about the original Sleeping Beauty movie, and then every single one of those things gets a chapter where that's sort of what happens. The prince like tries to explain the Sleeping Beauty story, and she is just like at least a chapter just harping on every single plot point that doesn't make sense. Like Maleficent wasn't invited to a party, and that's why she cursed her? Talk about petty. And the gifts the fairies gave her, like beauty, grace, singing, that doesn't help you run a kingdom. It's ridiculous. It doesn't help her become a queen. And like, why did they hide her in the woods and not tell her the truth? Why were they? The fairies are supposed to be heroes, but they lied to Princess Aurora all her life. Yeah, and that really kind of is mean of the fairies. And one complaint I might add is that the poor Prince Philip doesn't do too much in the movie, which isn't prompted by the fairies. Like, the fairies are the ones that spring him from jail, and they give him the magic tools, and they basically tell him what to do, and he basically follows their orders without really saying anything in response. He's not this big, grand, heroic hero And the author clearly wants Aurora to be the big hero, too. So I feel like the author would have loved Barbie as Sleeping Beauty. I've done a video walkthrough for that. Check it out. Arglefumph, Barbie as Sleeping Beauty, which was it was supposed to be a movie, but it was a video game. And it kind of addresses all these big problems with Sleeping Beauty because, Barbie is the one who defeats the evil Maleficent because she's Barbie. The prince, he's just Ken. He can't stop the evil fairy. All he does is cut some of those thorns and makes a pathway to the castle and wakes Sleeping Beauty up. That's his role, and then he just kind of disappears and steps into the background while she takes control and defeats the villain. Also, Barbie, Princess Barbie, she was not sent away as a child. She got to live with her parents and grew up in the castle. Because the curse only comes true on the 16th birthday, right? So they could have had her live in the castle for 15 years and 364 days, and then hide her for the big birthday, right? They could have done that, but they did not. They chose to do it. Well, in Barbie, she does grow up with her parents, and she does get different gifts from the fairies. I believe every time you play the game, it gives you a different set of like 2 or 3 gifts from the fairies. Like one of them's a baby toy, which is fine, and so I'm getting off topic, but yeah. So interspersed with Aurora talking to the prince, and it is kind of nice. It's sort of like a rom-com situation where he's the bumbling guy and she's kind of the take charge, sarcastic, swearing princess. That just doesn't really feel like Princess Aurora. But this is a Princess Aurora who was raised by Maleficent for 19 years. So I can give a little bit of leeway there, and she's kind of struggling because she somewhat remembers the actual reality, but she remembers the 19 years being trapped in the castle with Maleficent, and so she's just trying to balance the two. And then, like every other chapter, there's some sort of demon or trap that they have to overcome. Like, Maleficent says monsters out in the form of like wood nymphs, and they try to dress her up and give her fancy outfits, and they try to distract her with that. And one does a singing contest with a magical bird to try to stop her there. And she also makes like a big cliff, just a big gorge appear out of nowhere to stop her. And then there's kind of like an interesting one where like her younger self is there talking to her, and she has to like stab her younger self, and that's really dark stuff. And she and the prince are basically trying to go to the house where the fairies raised her, and good thing they realize they have to get there too, because when they finally get there, the fairies kind of train her in the art of magical fighting, because it is her dream, so she could basically make whatever happen in her dream reality. So she gets like a magic sword and cool armor and stuff like that. And I feel like the author was playing a joke. Let me see if I could find the name of the chapter. But the chapter after that is called something like The Long Journey Back to Maleficent's Castle. The entire chapter is just like the characters talking for a bit, and then Aurora says, "Oh man, this is gonna take forever for us to reach there. I wish we could be there already." And then, bam, they're instantly warped to the castle because it's her dream and she controls the reality. And that's kind of being mean to the to the readers of the book. At the same time, we just spent like over 200 pages on a journey to the little cottage in the woods where the fairies raised Aurora. So I can give that up. I think it would have been too much if we had an equally long journey all the way back to Maleficent's castle. So the epic battle against Maleficent was pretty darn awesome, because they're like throwing lightning at each other. She has a big battle with the fairies, and the fairies are like doing they've got like armor. It's like some sort of superhero battle, really. It feels like something out of a superhero movie. And Prince Philip, because he's an idiot, he's like, I think the blue one is the smart one, and the red one's the brave one, because he's still trying to figure out what they're like. And Aurora's like, I like you, but I want you to shut up right now, is basically her response. But she likes him too much to just tell him to shut up. And apparently he talks about his horse too much, and she also doesn't care about that. Like, dude, shut up. And gosh, no, I recently read another book. Here, let me just grab it for you right now. But Kilala Princess, this is a manga. I'm also going to do a review series on this Kilala Princess manga. And it goes with the interpretation of, which I thought was my interpretation of the movie, which is that Prince Philip gave up his kingdom to marry Aurora Rose, or Briar Rose. Like, he goes to his dad, and I thought that was the point of the big scene where he says, like, Dad, it's the 14th century. I'm not going to put up with some arranged marriage with a woman I've never met. No, I want to marry this woman I fell in love with. But that also ends up being, but that's not the interpretation that this book gives. In the book, she gets kind of mad at him because he did not tell her that he was a prince. You know, he made plans to meet her again that night so they could elope, but he didn't say he was a prince. And so, was he lying to her? It's like, no, I'm pretty sure he was going to tell her. Besides, he just gave up his kingdom for her. She didn't know that. So, you know, I can understand. She didn't know that. But yeah, this book does not follow the idea that he literally gave up his kingdom to be with her. Like, he did not care. He loved her for who she was and not because it was a prearranged marriage. So I thought that was pretty nice. This book does have a darker interpretation of Aurora, like pricking her finger on the spindle when she's led by the glowing green ball of evil. And she was so heartbroken and devastated that people lied to her and she was abandoned that she kind of wanted to die. She was having suicidal thoughts that day. And so she's like, you know what? I'm either going to die or I'm going to fall asleep, and both would be preferable to the way my terrible life is now. And that's why she willingly fell victim to Maleficent's trap. And that's pretty dark, too. So, what can I say about this book overall? I think I hit all the major points. And like I said, the ending, big, fantastic battle. Pretty awesome. And actually, she doesn't marry the prince at the end. She's like, guess what? I'm the queen. And then she has to put a bunch of people in their place because they want other guys to come in and take over the kingdom. Apparently she's got an uncle who's a prince, and she's got a cousin who's a prince. I'm like, were they mentioned in the movie? Why weren't they there for the wedding? Because they were expecting to have a big wedding. But yeah, she has to really, you know, put down everybody. It's like, hey, I just killed Maleficent the dragon. I'm queen now. Deal with it. So that's like what the actual ending is, as opposed to her and Philip deciding to get married. You know, it's kind of indicated they'll probably get married some point in the future. Who knows? Now she's in her third. Actually, I think she's reverted back to her 16-year-old age when she woke up. So I don't think she's in her 30s anymore. That's something else which would be really weird, though, to jump from age, 16 plus 19, 35 to 16. It's not quite 15 going on 30, but it's pretty close. Just a little bit more of an age gap than the movie 15 going on 30. So this book is definitely dark. It's definitely dark. I know a bunch of people did not finish it because they didn't like the first 100 pages. If you are not liking it, like the first 25 pages or so, I'd say skip to page 100. Just skip ahead. I just told you the important point, which is it's just a fake dream reality where Maleficent raised the princess. It's not real. So you could kind of just skip ahead. And then the real meat of the book is sort of like a rom-com with her and Prince Philip, with an older Princess Aurora, who's far more critical of the things that are happening in her life, and rightly so, which is tied with them also fighting demons. It's also like a road trip movie where they fight demons every 5 minutes. Sort of like the Percy Jackson series. That was what the first Percy Jackson movie was sort of like. There is no big water park inside this book, though, because it's the 14th century. They wouldn't have a big water park scene, though. Okay, so those are my thoughts. Thank you very much for watching my review of Once Upon a Dream.